Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Bold Business. I'm Lindsay Christian, and we are so happy to have business reporter and anchor Caroline Woods filling in for David Grasso, who is traveling this week for his wedding. We congratulate him and wish him all the best on his special day. But welcome, Caroline.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, and congratulations, David.
So let's give a shout out to Jen FKD, who helps us bring this show to you every week. It's a nonprofit dedicated to helping millennials understand money and entrepreneurship. So we have a great show today, so remember to share your comments throughout the show via Facebook and Twitter. We want to hear from you, so chime in.
Let's welcome our first guest. Joining us for headlines is Jordan Awoye. Jordan is a career coach and financial expert.
Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. Glad
Investment
to be here.
coach, financial advisor, and you have your own business too.
Yes, Awoye Capital.
All right, investing, dealing with those $1 million clients, right?
I mean, everybody needs help. It's always easier when the pot is bigger, but we have clients in every financial bracket.
tier.
Does that mean you can't give us any financial advice if we don't have $1 million?
Teamwork
Right.
makes the dream work. So everybody gets help, especially in this new generation. People are so eager to learn and be financially stable. So if I could help, I love to, regardless of the payout.
All right. Well, we're excited to get some of your insights here. Our first headline is from the Wall Street Journal. According to a report, rising fuel costs are driving smaller airlines out of business. More than 20 carriers have stopped flying this year as a result.
Jordan, how should smaller airlines stay in the air, if you will? That's a quote of Lindsay's.
Yes,
We're going to say stay afloat, but stay in the air during this rise in fuel rates.
I mean, the reality is you need to look at the cost, right? Balance sheet. What's coming in, what's going out. You want to make sure that the expenses doesn't take over the money that's coming in, the income, right? So my biggest thing from a business standpoint is that when you build your business plan, you always factor in these volatility factors. So the fact that it's happening puts me at, a little bit nervous because from a CEO standpoint, the people that's running it, you want to take into account the fact that you have ability to do that. But in regards to your question, how do they deal with it? They need to take a step back and see how they could drop their costs. They cannot control fuel costs, so you can't take that, but you could cut costs in other places. So they need to start cutting costs.
They just hike flights because
Flights
flights are
up.
so expensive. I'm really baffled as to how these airlines aren't surviving. But I understand with rising costs that could happen.
Well, and oil prices have been declining, so that could change. But I guess my question is, these airlines are already charging you for everything.
They
That's the
nickel and
biggest
dime
thing.
us.
I couldn't even bring a carry-on on my last flight because I didn't realize I booked a peasant basic economy ticket.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring a carry-on unless
Yes.
I wanted to pay $100 more.
And
Right.
that's the thing. They're so strict right now from bringing things on or you can't move this, that, and the third that I feel that if you go that route of hiking costs, you have a negative correlation into losing money from the people that buy stuff because there's so much competition.
Right.
So if you go that route, you risk losing clientele or just customers.
I don't know. Everybody's doing it, though. So I think they just know that
true.
people will pay it because how else are we going to get to a place that you can't drive to?
That's true.
All right, let's get to our next headline, which covers Black Friday. Just in time for Thanksgiving, Business Insider reports Amazon is starting its Black Friday deals a week early. Amazon is featuring 50 or more deals of the day, offering an additional $5 off Black Friday deals to customers who try its camera function on the app, which I've never tried. I need to try that.
Either.
Amazon is also featuring free shipping. That's a great perk. So, Caroline, will you be shopping on Amazon
Do you
this
know,
week?
I had to cover this story this morning at 6 a.m., so I was on my phone kind of looking to see what Amazon was offering, but I'm still at the idea stage for Christmas gifts, so
early.
I was a little overwhelmed because I'm like, okay, no one needs an Echo Dot, which is significantly
Right.
discounted, but I got a little overwhelmed.
What about you, Jordan? Do you like Amazon?
I love Amazon. From a company sales perspective, if I'm doing shopping, I don't know. I feel like it would be great from a convenience standpoint. And the reality is that Amazon is controlling the market right now anyway. So being ahead of the curve and being able to do what they're doing and going a step further by offering more deals, the fact that this is the first time they're doing free shipping.
Free shipping.
Right.
It's a game changer. You have to love that business model and starting early. I love it.
Definitely ahead of the game.
Target is also offering free shipping, but I noticed that Walmart, I was reporting this morning, Walmart, still $35 minimum. So Black Friday deals started last week, though, so maybe it will offset.
Really?
And I guess who doesn't spend $35, right?
Of course, at least.
But all right, our next headline is from USA Today. According to its report, public policy experts from the gaming and sports industries will gather in Washington to discuss the future of sports betting in the United States. The topic has sparked conversation since the Supreme Court opened sports gambling to any state that elects it. The NHL and NBA have signed agreements to provide MGM Resorts International with data for use in betting. MGM will access the data through Sport Radar, which provides services to national and international sports federations, media companies, and bookmakers. Jordan, who benefits most from this deal?
That's a tough one. I think everybody has a chance to benefit and eat from this, but I think it's definitely the gaming system, right? Because from an NBA standpoint, NHL standpoint, you still want to make sure the integrity of the game isn't tampered with, right? And if you bring that too close to the game itself, now you have to worry about players or bookies or people interfering with those players. So I think the gaming department, that separate aspect, being able to use it in Vegas and Atlantic City, they're definitely going to be able to make the most money from it. NBA organizations and people like that, you wonder how much they want to take from it because you may be able to lose.
I can't imagine that they don't want a piece of that pie because you'd have nothing better. Right?
Of course.
It wasn't
of
for
course.
the sports teams, right?
You have to get in at some way, shape, or form from an NBA or sports perspective, NFL, whoever decides to get in. But how much profits you take from it and who benefits the most, the gaming department is going to max on it as much as possible, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Wow. Right. Well, we appreciate your insights, Jordan.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us, Jordan Awoye.
Thank you.
For fashion designers who need help sketching, designing, and organizing your business, Anna Livermore, founder and CEO of V.Mora, has a solution.
Welcome, Anna. Tell us more about V.Mora.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
Yes, and love this dress.
Oh, thank you.
Is this a V.Mora design? Or
Swaby is out of Chicago. She's a local designer.
Really chic.
So she's amazing. She's been in for 15 years now. So, yeah. Representing Chicago. I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay.
So. But V.Mora is a company that helps launch fashion designers. So what we do is we do the patterns and the samples, we source the goods, and then we manage the manufacturing so that they can be successful. So we'll either help designers that are creative that don't know the business aspect, or business people that come up with a really great idea and don't know the fashion aspect of how to get that done. So
that is such a cool concept. How did you even think of creating this opportunity to help fashion designers?
Yeah, it's really organic. So I went to school for fashion design, and then I worked as a buyer. So I learned the business aspect. I always loved math and science, but I also loved fashion. So the numbers really attracted me. So to figure that out. And then I worked at a custom design shop after that. And I was taught to sew by this 75-year-old Iraqi woman. Yeah. Like a couture, really, really fine-tuned sewing skill. And our generation doesn't know that. And she didn't teach her children because it wasn't a good life for her. So a lot of seamstresses did not teach their children how to sew so that they could have better lives. So it's really a dying skill. So learning that, I was able to do my own clothing line, where I was able to do the patterns and the samples myself, work with factories, and then with a buying experience, know how to launch and go to market. But in order to pay my rent, I started working with designers to do patterns and samples for them locally in Chicago, out of my spare bedroom of my apartment.
So when you say patterns and samples, for those of us who aren't familiar with the fashion world, what does that actually mean?
So a pattern is the piece of paper, like when you go to Joann's and it's that big, large tissue paper.
So you're designing that fabric?
Correct.
It's like a blueprint.
It's a blueprint that gets laid out onto the fabric, cut, and then you sew that, and you take that sample, and it has to be perfect because you take that to manufacturing and they match that sample.
Wow, so you have to really start with the intricacies of design before you even start selling a product.
Exactly. There's a lot that goes into it. And, well, obviously, otherwise everyone would be successful designers. It's a tough business.
But you really kind of see it taken from step one all the way to come to fruition, right? So how gratifying is that then when you see your clients?
Amazing. Like, I have the honor of working with such amazing clients, doing amazing things. We have one client, Saints of June, that's about to launch, and they are their profits for each garment goes towards Jonathan's Place, which helps. That one's for foster children, and then Field of Dreams in Uganda, which helps with orphanages. So she's really giving back. I also have another client that polyester is all plastic, so if you're working out, that's getting absorbed into your skin. So Reprise Activewear is all plant-based, and she just launched, had a successful Kickstarter. So just like really amazing clients doing really cool, innovative things, and we get to work with them and help them get their...
This reminds me of Project Runway. I'm sure you
Yes.
probably get that or hear that a lot, kind of that concept of taking visions and helping them come to fruition.
Yes.
That has to be kind of the impetus behind why you do what you do, really to help people who really have nowhere to start and really see them all the way through.
Exactly, yes. So with that really pushed people to say, like, I can be a fashion designer. It made it more accessible to somebody that wants to start. And then my company is based around helping them find the right resources and the right pricings and building their company from start to finish. So, yeah.
Do your customers or your clients have a specific aesthetic, or do you does your fashion influences run the gamut?
They always have something in mind. Usually it's an idea. They don't know how to make that idea happen, or it's a concept or something, and then we pull out from them we make that a reality for them, but they always have an idea of what they want. I rarely have anyone just come and say, I want to start a clothing line, but that's all I know.
And what's the timeline?
It depends. So if they're doing it domestic, things are a lot faster because we're working domestically. We don't have to ship from China. But if they're doing offshore, you have to be a year in advance at least, if not a year and a half if you're starting. But domestically, we can get it done 6 to 9 months. You can have production ready.
What are the costs like? I mean, and do you help these fashion designers find investors? Like, what is that process like?
We have. It does... Like any business, it costs money to start. So that's the first conversation I have with them is, what does your budget look like and what can you do? Because you have to produce your production prior to being paid, because you produce your production, you sell it, and then you're paid. So they have to be ready to... Right away, I sit down with them of what's their budget, what is their timeline, to make sure that they can be successful. Because if they start and they run out of money, nobody wins. So making sure that they know that.
And just from your business perspective, what do you do to kind of keep your clients on board then? Or is this kind of just something where you're constantly trying to generate new business, or can it be a lifelong partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also help with the branding and the marketing. So you're always developing a new season, you're selling a new season, and you're delivering a season. So you're kind of working with 3 seasons at once. And when there's lulls in that, then there's social media, there's branding, there's photo shoots, there's trade shows, the selling. So we also help with that, and then we're starting the new season. So,
and you're also, I'm sure many of these fashion designers just have this goal to show their work during Fashion Week. So that's also added to the list.
It is, yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and things are changing in the industry a lot. Fashion Week and fashion shows, people are going more into having showrooms and trying to get buyers. So we have to stay on top of what's working and really be on the front lines of what is making these designers successful and what isn't.
Well, we so appreciate you coming here, Anna Livermore of V.Mora, and we encourage fashion designers who are watching to certainly reach out to you. That's a great resource to have.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It was great to be here.
Thank you.
And we have to go online and see about getting
well,
ourselves
this dress
those
is really
dresses.
chic. I would totally order that. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's continue the fashion conversation with Carla Nelson, President and CEO of the newly created Black Fashion World Foundation, Inc.
Welcome, Carla, one of my
Hi.
friends. Good
How
to see
are
you. So excited to have you. What is the foundation's mission?
Our mission is to empower, as we call them, Black fashionpreneurs by educating them through educational events, which will build their business acumen, through networking events, which will help them expand their network, and through opportunity events, which will set the stage for them to do business.
So was there a need, or did you observe a need to create this?
That's a good question. So yes, there definitely is a serious need. Fashion is a hard business. Yet we as African Americans have a lower share. It's a little bit more of a challenge for us. It has been said that fashion itself, if it were ranked against the GDP, would be classified as the world's 7th largest economy.
Wow,
But
is that the case?
when you go to major department stores, only 1% of those labels in the stores represent African American people.
So the foundation wants to give them a platform and really help to elevate and showcase their talents.
Absolutely.
So what's that workflow like? What's a day in the life of someone that you're helping?
Well, we're in development stages right now. So our main focus is communicating with these professionals. I believe one of the main things I learned out of coming from corporate America is that the people closest to the process have the answers. For myself, who was someone who wanted to pursue a career in fashion and wasn't able to do so because of socioeconomic challenges, this is an opportunity for me to use those skills, those coordination skills, those business acumen skills, to actually bring them in and talk to them and bring a fresh perspective and find out what they want to see, what they need, and to develop the programs from there.
And the foundation will provide access to higher education, capital, mentorship. Well, we know capital is important. Finding the funds to even
grants.
Grants. How will you go about doing that?
Without the capital.
Yeah, we need those funds.
Yeah. So the unique thing about us is that we can take the passion that we as African Americans have. We are fashion purveyors. We are fashion connoisseurs. So we can take that passion, we can use it for events, and then we can recycle that money back into the community and empower each other. Not only can we do that, but we can offer memberships that offer them the needs that they have. Right now, it's a challenge for an entrepreneur to have insurance or even investing. So we can offer a membership that offers that. And of course, this is business. And then we can, again, take those funds and recycle them back into the community.
So you would actually offer insurance?
We can.
Oh, wow.
As a nonprofit.
So you never think about that,
No,
right? As an entrepreneur, that you need to insure your business and your brand.
Yes, we definitely want to develop a program for that. We have the initial phase. We just need to bring the right professionals together to develop it out.
So who would you say is obviously you're focusing women of color, or women or men of color, or no, it's
Absolutely.
women probably?
No, it's all African Americans, people
right.
of color.
I was looking at a different.
Okay. That's
Sorry,
okay.
man. So obviously that's the broader target. But are you looking specifically for, a certain type of person?
Someone who loves fashion, someone who's tried to pursue it, someone who, like myself, wasn't able to pursue it. Their dream was either delayed, denied, or derailed. Someone who may be experiencing challenges now. Someone whose business may be failing. A perfect example, one of our first platforms will be to develop our Save My Business project. Perfect example is Johnson Publishing and Fashion Fair. That's a household name,
yes.
But they're in turmoil. So being able to get the right funding, being able to bring in the right professionals who can set up the right best practices, we could, as it develops, save an organization like that. And maybe if we move quickly, maybe we still can help Johnson.
So will you engage fashion designers who are currently in the profession right now to support the foundation?
Absolutely. That tailor-making piece, we need to talk with them. We need their wisdom, their expertise. We need their input.
Who's on your wish list? Who's number one up there?
Oh, as far as talking, I can't tell you that.
Okay.
Well, no, we need.
Yeah, they could be watching. Carla.
There's some things going on right now in the works, but we would love to. I'll put it out like this: as I talk with people, one of the questions that I ask them, I say, if you could do dinner with 3, and it's expanded to 5 now, people, who would those people be? On the top of their list would be Oprah, which I would love for business acumen.
Of course.
And it doesn't have to be someone for fashion, because business is business, but then you cater it to the fashion piece.
Right.
And no one has more connections than Oprah.
Absolutely. She would be dynamic. The Oprah effect, she could help us grow tremendously. But we want to speak with all of the individuals who've made a tremendous success. Jeff Tweedy, he's done phenomenal for Sean John. And since I bring that up, just sending out my condolences to their family, the entire team. But he definitely is an awesome person to talk to. I mean, someone who's generated $525 million. That definitely would be someone. Someone else we'd want to talk to would be Ruth Carter. Phenomenal. Actually had an opportunity to participate in an exhibit with her, so she would definitely be someone top of the list. People have mentioned to me Jay-Z. So I'm listening. I'm listening.
Well, that's great.
Beyonce. I mean, I would invite them to my dinner party.
I would too.
And Blue Ivy. That's 3 right there.
So what are the next steps? I mean, this is in development. So what's the next step for the foundation? And how are you going to, I guess, recruit your clients? And if they're watching, what would you want them to hear?
Right. So actually recruiting them has been going well. Okay. As I'm mentioning, as I'm talking with the professionals, I'm talking, people are referring, that's working. What I would say is, 1, log on to blackfashionworld.org, register for updates. Follow us with the handle, hashtag, I'm used to saying pound, but hashtag BFW Foundation. You can message me through social media. I will respond to you. I want to hear from you. I need to hear from you.
You are so passionate about this, Carla, and it really does show.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, Carla.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Carla. All right, it's time now for our Bookstore segment. Bookstore is a website for book lovers and much more. Speaking of books, one of my favorite persons in the world released her book this
Who's
week.
that?
Michelle Obama.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh.
Caroline, Becoming is out.
I've been out since 4 a.m., so I have an excuse.
So I know that is like top of the talk now, breaking news.
Did you buy it yet?
It's on my list. Actually,
Will you download it or will you buy it?
I'm going to buy a physical copy, and I'm going to also order the Audible version so that I can listen to it
So
when
you'll
I'm
support
commuting.
Amazon with the Audible. Will you buy the paperback?
Oh, absolutely.
From a local.
I'll go to like a Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
So I'll spread my. But anyway, we are happy to have Lisa Hill here, author of Help, I Need a Job Now. I'm sure many people have those same sentiments, Lisa.
When you say
Well, Lisa, welcome. Thanks
you
so much for joining us. I want to hear more about your book and your best advice for people who say, help,
I need a job now. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I think it's a terrific opportunity here. I think one of the things I try to do with a lot of the people that need a job is to get their confidence up a little bit. Because unfortunately, a lot of people that are looking for jobs are so depressed and down in the dumps, and where they've applied for like 30 different jobs online and they can't get a response.
It just goes into that black hole. With,
Yes.
You don't even know if you're actually reaching anyone.
Exactly. For all you know, it could be going right into the circular file. So I try to get their emotions a little bit more optimistic. And then what I try to do is go into more like out-of-the-box ideas for them to get jobs. So if someone is on all types of social media and they're not getting responses, or they're getting interviews and just not getting anywhere, I try to tell them to go directly to the source. So, why send your resume out to 100 different places when maybe you only want to work for a network or a publishing company or a nonprofit? Why not go directly to the source and try to just, focus on that type of firm rather than just having your resume spread all over?
Lisa, how much do you really lean on this adage of it's who you know? And do you share that with, your readers and your clients? It's just that targeted approach and relationships.
And relationships. That's an excellent question. The thing is, unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, if you do know people in certain industries, it's going to give you an edge normally. More than the average person. So one of the other things I usually recommend is networking as much as possible. Going through your files and who you might have met, or maybe who you've worked for in the past, because somebody might know somebody that can help you. So it's very, very, very high priority up there as far as who you know.
And that can be such an uncomfortable thing, even if you know the right people.
That's true,
to
too.
Go and have to ask for help. Especially when you're in a position where you're feeling a little weak and maybe you've lost your job, or maybe your job's coming to an end. So, it seems like some of the work that you have to do is kind of that of a therapist.
Totally. Totally.
Except copays.
I know. That's one of the reasons I actually went into this career coaching, because when I was recruiting for personnel companies in New York, I found so many people needed the emotional help. And I'm not a therapist per se, but with my experience, I think I could be.
Right. So I'm a business reporter, and I report on the job situation every month. And it seems like we have a pretty tight labor market right now. In fact, it seems like we don't even have enough people to fill the jobs, or enough qualified people to fill the jobs that are out there. Have you found that with, is that, that's what the data says, but is that how it is actually in real life?
In real life, it seems like there are so many ads now for people, as you said. But what the problem is, it's like a conundrum, because what they do is they will list a job, but the requirement requirements are unbelievable. There could be 36, 40 different areas that they're looking for. So there are a lot of positions available, but I feel that if employers were a little bit more, lenient with their requirements, possibly they wouldn't have that many openings. It's a very tough market now.
What's your advice, Lisa, about really customizing and tailoring your resume?
Another great question. I tell most people that when they apply for jobs, a lot of them will have one resume, and it's usually a generic type of resume. And they just send it to any ads that they see. That's the problem. If you really want a job, I think you have to tailor, in my opinion, each resume to the particular ad, and tailor it to the requirements they're looking for, the objection. If you have tailored resumes, and that's to be, being honest about it, of course, but emphasizing areas that are related to what the job requires, I think you have a much better chance of getting a call back.
And do you feel like cover letters are still a thing? It seems like I've heard a lot of people say, I didn't even have to submit a cover letter anymore. And that was the worst part about applying for jobs, right?
That was so tedious.
Right. So, do people still write cover letters? And how important are cover letters?
Not many people write cover letters anymore. I'd say maybe half compared to years ago. But I think cover letters, if they're short and to the point, are very, very helpful. So if someone's looking for a certain quality and you have maybe 3 paragraphs in a cover letter and you emphasize, this is exactly what I'm looking for, I think it's an advantage for them to continue and read your resume.
It's kind of just like a quick elevator pitch.
Yeah. Yes.
Not a long, formal.
No.
Which, thank God.
Which we do now via email. You can send your email as your cover
email.
letter, and then you attach the resume.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Lisa, over the years, you've placed thousands of people. What are some success stories you can share about maybe someone who was looking for a job for, let's say, 10 months, and they finally landed that dream job or that ideal job that they've been wanting?
I have a great story. Have to keep it short, though. Okay. I had a position where they were recruiting for the CEO of a major investment banking firm in New York. And they had 16 agencies working on it. It took over a year to find anyone. So I had someone come into my office like 7 o'clock at night or so when I was working late. She said, I'm sure you must have filled this position, but I just happened to notice it in the paper. She said, do you think it's still available? And I said, probably. So I had this tremendous instinct about this one person, and it was really weird. I said, she's the one. I just had feeling she was the one. It's kind of unusual. But I followed my instinct, and I referred to the client, and the client said, no, thank you, because they had enough resumes, and they really didn't want any more. I thought, oh, my God, but this is the one. You have to hire her. I said, I staked my entire reputation on this one person, and that's pretty big.
That's major.
Because that's major. She still said, let me think about it. Then my applicant said, no, it's okay, don't worry. And I said, no, I have to get you in there. So about a week or so later, my recruiter called and said, I just can't deal with this job anymore because they can't seem to agree on anything. I said, well, I happen to have one person that I think would be great.
That lucky one.
Oh, my God. So she said, all right, I'll see her. She went through 12 interviews until she got to the CEO, which included his wife, and she got the job. And ever since then, it was like, she's the best in the entire 1,000-people firm or something, like number one.
Persistence is key,
Persistence is key. Don't give up.
Persistence.
And it's always great to have a person who believes in you in your corner. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that and some advice for those who are seeking jobs.
Thank you both very much.
Absolutely.
Good luck to everyone looking.
Joining us on Skype is David Niemi, Vice President of Measurement and Evaluation at Kaplan, Inc. David is here to tell us how to use data to improve learning.
Welcome, David.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us about Kaplan's Learning Analytics and Education Guidebook.
Well, this is really a book that I put together, but it involves chapters by a lot of different experts in the pretty new field of learning analytics, which is basically, as you just mentioned, focused on how do we improve learning for all students. And I think it's fair to say now that education is not serving all students equally well. But the proliferation of online courses, the number of students, starting to take online courses at all levels of education, from lower elementary school through adult learning and professional development. So it's just really exploded. So this offers a lot of new opportunities for us to make better use of the information we have about students, to figure out if they're having, if they're struggling, what areas are they struggling in and what could we do about it, which is a key part of making the analytics work too. You have to provide information to the teachers and other people and the students themselves who could actually do something useful for that information. So that's what the book is about, and it involves experts talking about that from several different kinds of perspectives, from data mining, the more technical aspects of it, from the learning side, how do we help students learn better by using the data more effectively, and from some of the privacy and policy issues too, because as we collect more and more information about students, particularly students who are younger, kids under 18. There's questions about what might be done with that data, and could things be done that actually would harm the students and so on. So it's a broad array of people, and the point of the book is we've got to bring together all these multiple perspectives to actually make education work better for all the students that it's not serving too well now.
And when you talk about learning analytics, what kind of analytics are we talking about?
Well, there's a broad range. There's, fairly traditional kinds of things that have been done by educational measurement people for a long time, like analyzing test data to tell how students are doing. That's not a great way to improve learning per se, because typically students and teachers get the data way too late. So we're talking about using data that's coming in every day from students and checking on how they're doing, and maybe even asking some questions like, are you feeling confident about what you're trying to do here or not? And if you get an answer that says, yeah, I don't know if I can handle this, I've never had anything like this before, it looks really tough, responding effectively to that then and saying, well, here's what you can do, here's who you can connect with. So it's really about thinking about, both in the classroom, what things can teachers do to kind of check and make sure their students are learning day to day. But if students are online, you can be following everything they're doing and giving them advice that, as you see what they're doing, if they pause for a while, you might ask them a question like, or having trouble thinking about this and so on. So that's where the new analytics is really headed on. How do we help students kind of minute by minute and day by day?
Well, I'll say this, David, I did teach high school years ago, and I know this guidebook would have helped me as I develop my curriculum, because I think it's important to focus on what's working and what's not working in the classroom. So would you recommend this for all teachers, even school principals, to assimilate this into their everyday process?
Well, there's some practical advice for teachers, particularly in the chapter I happen to write, which is about using analytics to improve what we call academic persistence. That means just sticking to it when things get tough, and there's lots of things teachers could do in the classroom that can be pulled from that chapter. Just asking questions of students on how they're thinking about what's going on and so on. But the key thing there is, you have to follow up with, and there's some information about this in the book too, with guidance for students then. Because if you find out a lot of people are sort of demoralized, they're not understanding what's going on. It could be a bunch of different things happening. It could be the students were just not taught this topic well in previous grade levels. So you've got to back up a little and give them more background. It could be, some students had horrific life events that are affecting how they're doing at some point in time. And what do you do about that as a teacher and so on? So yeah, there is, some of the chapters are kind of more theoretical and academic and maybe interesting to teachers who just want to know, where is education heading in the future, and what's happening in online education, and is there any role for me? Am I going to be replaced by what's going on online? And I would say no, that's not going to be happening for a while, and there's going to be a big role for people serving as online teachers and so on. So it could be very useful to teachers, but I would say those who are most interested in finding out what is analytics all about? How could I be using data better? How could I understand better the kinds of data that I'm looking at and so on?
Well, thanks so much for joining us, David. We really appreciate your insights. And I learned something new. I did not know you were a teacher in your past life.
I'm a high school teacher. Now I teach at Montclair State University as an adjunct professor, so I have perspectives from both sides.
Yeah, and it's probably changed. I mean, obviously the age range has changed, but it's probably changed so much as well, just with curriculum and technology.
Technology is a big part of just everyday life now, and especially in the classroom. So
You're probably not using chalk anymore, huh?
No, everything is online. I even administer my test. Everything is online.
Very green of you.
Well,
All right, well,
for a long time myself, so nice to have another colleague.
thanks, David. All right, well, if you're like me, and I'm sure Carolina, any lady out there, you're into beauty products, so you will enjoy meeting our next guest. Psyche Terry is the founder and chief inspiration officer of UI Global Brands, featuring key brand Urban Hydration.
Welcome, Psyche. It's great to have you. I want to ask you, how did you decide to focus on natural products?
Thank you so much for having me, firstly.
You're welcome.
Well, natural products for me came into place more or less when I was using products to help my skin. I had eczema, I had dry skin, and I was using some dermatological bottles that made me feel some kind of way in the bathroom. I felt very like I was in a clinic, or I needed to be in a clinic. So I thought, if there are words here that I can't necessarily pronounce or ingredients that I wouldn't necessarily use, that I wasn't told by, my great-grandmother to use on my body or in my hair or even in my tummy, then I probably shouldn't be putting them on my face.
Well, whatever you're doing, whatever's in your product is working, because your complexion is completely flawless.
And you're glowing, which I was shocked when you said you had eczema, because you don't look dry at all.
Thank you.
So that your hydration.
Lemon juice, grapeseed oil.
Juice.
Yes.
What are some other ingredients in your product?
Oh my goodness, grapeseed oil. Argan is great for frizz. Lemon is good for extraction. Grape is good for, you think about anything that makes your teeth go when you eat them, it's going to snatch out whatever it's going to be a part of. So grapes and grape seed or grapefruit. We use vanilla bean. We use coconut oil and avocado oils. And so those are great moisturizers. So we look at whatever is in that food or fruit ingredient, what it can do for your body and or your hair or your home. We have home cleaning too.
So it's a plant-based, almost like a plant-based concept around your products.
Yes. It is, yes. It's a plant-based. We say, welcome to the good life. So we're all about having products that are good for you, that do good. So we do a ton of good things in the community as well.
So technically, because they're all natural, I mean, could you actually consume them? Are they safe enough to consume?
We've got, our hairline is like, it's so yummy, right? And it smells amazing too. But we are, honestly, when we're designing, we almost want to be sure that if it's in the kitchen, right, that it's not consumed with other things that are in the kitchen. But no, you shouldn't, right? It's we say it's 99%, up to 99% all natural. And just like milks and other things, because we manufactured our products before in Dallas, Texas, like by hand, pregnant. Long story.
Wow, that's impressive.
We've had to drop in stabilizers so you don't have to refrigerate it.
Okay. And you brought some products with you. So tell us about your favorites. I just, anything that will give me your glow, just tell us about it.
So our face line is amazing now, right? So we just started in face because we learned that a lot of people are using our lovely sugar scrub that's for your body.
Can we smell that?
Yes. So
I'm a fan of your products, by the way. I have the shampoo and I have the lotion, which, by the way, it lasts a long time. Like this pump.
Oh, you've heard of the brand and everything before.
Yes.
Yay, I love that.
Oh, that smells divine. Oh, yes.
So that's our vanilla collection. So that's what kind of like blew us up. We're in 8,000 stores across the country.
Okay.
And that is one of the reasons why. People were using our scrubs on their face, in their hair.
Smells
we're like,
divine.
okay, so we need a hair collection because people are using our body washes in their hair and they're just, they know it's good for them. So they're just using it all over their body. And we're like, okay, let's extend our collection. Let's do more because they're using us for more things.
What I appreciate about your company, Psyche, is that you give back. You have a college scholarship program. Tell us more about that.
Oh my goodness. So I, just like so many people, have been on my last leg with the business, with family, with my husband, with college. And what we decided to do was to help bless children that are right at that bitter edge. They almost couldn't graduate. So we have $50,000 that we give out to my alma mater, Western Michigan University. There are 10 students that we give cash money to. And the neatest thing about it is we don't just do that. We also have a relationship with the president of the university, and they've met with our students. His wife has met with our students. We've had dinner with them. So it goes well beyond money because we want to be sure that they're educated and they're paid for and that they're able to sustain a great future.
That is incredible. So it's products with philanthropy.
Yes.
I love that tie.
Doing good for people's skin,
Yes.
but also for the community. And that's really...
And their education.
Yeah. We say, welcome to the good life.
Welcome to the good life. Well, Psyche, we so appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward to using that scrub
Yes.
so I can
You
glow.
don't have that one.
I
I
smell
don't
it.
have the
so,
scrub. I
so
have the
it's
shampoo and the
amazing.
lotion.
yes,
But I'm going to be scrubbing.
And it's winter now, so...
Yeah, our
the
skin really
snow-
needs it.
Yes.
We need some hydration.
we
Every
do.
one of those products, every product that we have donates a gallon of water back to building wells in Kenya. And we have one whole well in Kenya because of people like you that love our product.
Oh, wonderful. Giving back. Oh, that's
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you.
So inspiring. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you,
us.
Psyche.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, our next guest is Matthew Perman, Director of Career Development at the King's College. Matthew is here to discuss his book, What's Best Next? How the Gospel Transforms the Way You Get Things Done.
All right. So we're going to talk about what to do to get things done, but using the gospel.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I haven't
It is.
actually... I actually don't know what's in store, so...
Yeah, well, we're welcome. Matthew, we're happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us what the book is about and like how you were inspired to write it.
Yeah, well, it's unique because I take a faith-based approach to productivity, and that's rare. There's a lot of great books on productivity out there. I've been highly influenced by David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. There's hundreds of thousands of fans of Getting Things Done. And I've also been influenced by Stephen Covey, and I developed a productivity system so I could do better in my work. But as a Christian, I was struck by the absence of thinking on this from a Christian perspective. So I was motivated to write it to help people be more productive, whether they're Christians or not, but also to give a unique Christian view on the subject.
It's interesting you said that. I was going to ask, is it just for, using the Christian methodology or theology rather, but it's for everyone.
It is for everyone. So if someone is not a Christian, I want them to see, hey, Christianity has something great to say about all of life. Okay. But if they're not persuaded, that's okay. The book will still be very helpful to them.
So could you give us an example? Obviously, you want people to read the book, right?
Yeah.
But could you give us an example of how you use the gospel to figure out what's best next?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two chief ways. First, the gospel shows us the importance of seeking a higher purpose in our work. Don't just work for your own benefit, for your own success. Work for the success of others. In fact, the best business research has been showing that it's the people who seek to help everyone succeed that are more successful themselves. And the gospel shows us that because that's actually what Jesus did. I mean, Christianity believes Jesus, is God. He became man and went to the cross for our salvation, to meet our needs. So he was thinking of the welfare of others before himself. And we are to reflect that in the way we go about all of our lives. And it means we seek to succeed by helping everyone else succeed, not just ourselves. And then,
It's a simple concept, almost like the golden rule, right? Do unto others. If we were to take a step back from the Christianity aspect, but just everyday life and how we should treat others.
Absolutely. I see the golden rule. It's at the heart of productivity, actually. And I talk about this in the first part of the book. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or love your neighbor as yourself is another way of stating the golden rule. And I believe that's actually how to be productive. It's before you use any strategies or tips, you need to have this mindset, and it leads to more fulfillment. You can actually succeed and be happy if you let the golden rule be your guide. And also you will do better work. You will care about good design and usability in your work because you want to treat people the way you would have them treat you.
How did you come up with this? Were you just, at a service one day and you thought, oh, this would work in business? Or how did you make this connection? Because it makes sense, but it's not something that I might have thought of when I was sitting in church as a kid.
Yeah, totally. It's such a great question. I love theology. So I started studying theology in college just on my own. I got my seminary degree, but then I started working at a ministry, and I learned that knowing theology was not enough. I had to learn how to get things done. I got some pushback from people. I started reading how to get things done, and there were some Christians, some really good Christians, that said, is this really spiritual? And I said, yes, the Bible talks about all of life. We are to live all of our lives with God in view. And so I wanted to teach about productivity, and I wanted to also give an answer to those who are Christians who are saying this isn't spiritual. So I sat down to think through, how does the gospel impact our productivity? It actually took me a long time. I had to do a lot of thinking. I would go on long walks and think about how exactly does the gospel relate to this. I would talk to people. It was really a long process to get it.
Have you seen success in people implementing this in the workforce?
Yes, I've gotten so much feedback. I've even had several people say to me, hey, if it wasn't for your book, I would have lost my job. People working in law and other fields like that.
So it's so simple, just being happy at work, right? Then you'll be productive. So would you say, like, if you want to become a CEO, right? And if you want to ascend in your role, then just be happy and treat others with respect and read Matthew's book.
Well, you got it. Yeah, read my book. I hope my book can help you with it.
I'm going to start passing this out to some of my coworkers who could really use that.
Yes, I love it. You know, and one of the early CEOs of IBM said that respect for the individual was the cornerstone of their business philosophy. Now, I don't know if he was a Christian or not. He probably wasn't. He could have been. But I look at that and I say, this is it. He is really reflecting a biblical view. And IBM was a great place to work for so many years. I don't know about it right now. Maybe it still is. But respect for others is really at the heart of good business. And if you want to be a CEO, make that the cornerstone of your business philosophy.
Yeah, it sounds like such a simple rule, but it's not that easy to come across in the workplace. Being in corporate America for so long, a lot of people could take that advice.
Yes, yes.
Thanks so much for joining us, Matthew.
Thanks,
we really
Matthew.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Okay, so we have had, wow, what a show. We've talked about beauty products, we've talked about fashion design, we've talked about
entrepreneurial,
we've talked about just being kind to people in the workplace, but now we're going to talk about FSA. Our next guest is Jeremy Miller, CEO and founder of the FSAStore. We want to hear more about this.
Hi, thanks for having
me.
Yeah, we actually were, because there's FSA and HSA, right? And we were trying to remember or learn what the difference is, because I've always had an FSA, but one you have to pay, you can't, if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing, right?
So you're going to break it down.
Yeah, you're going to teach us.
Definitely. Healthcare is very confusing, and there's flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts. Flexible spending accounts allows you to put money tax-free to spend on your medical expenses, as does a health savings account. But a health savings account, you have to have a high deductible healthcare plan to take advantage of those tax-free dollars. But they're both tax-free money that you are putting in. It's an employee benefit that you get to put in as an employee and save on tax-free money on medical expenses that you probably already have.
Very cool. But your store, you're selling what kind of products at the on the FSAStore?
FSAStore and HSAStore, two websites that cater to the people with FSAs and HSAs. There's 110 million Americans that could benefit from these tax-free money accounts, and we sell everything that you can buy for your FSA and HSA. So we're the only standalone site that actually carries products that are eligible under these complex healthcare plans.
Products like what?
Everything from high-end sunscreens to pain relief devices that are non-medicinal, which is very popular right now. We also have everything from first aid kits to Band-Aids and even everything in between. So
I had a friend who had, I guess, an FSA, and she had to use her money by the end.
Yes.
And she was offering to buy us anything we wanted at the drugstore the one time. I'm like, ooh, does this count? You know, Snickers bars.
People that have these accounts that just miss their deadline, or they forget about what money they have, they don't submit their receipts on time.
Where does that money go?
So that goes back to your employer. The employer can decide to put it into different causes for the employer, but that money does go back to the employer.
What made you create this store? Like, was there a personal story? Did something happen? And you said, I need to create this so that it's easy for consumers.
Yeah, were you one of those people that didn't use your
yes, I've lost money in the past for sure, but it was actually a personal story. I was working for a lot of different startup companies, and I decided to start my own FSA for my company. And then people really started coming to me with a lot of personal questions. I remember someone that I didn't even know was an expectant mom came to me and said, hey, are breast pumps eligible? And I was like, that's some information. You don't have to tell me. That's something that if there was a resource out there to really help people understand what was covered. And so we created that resource. We have over 4,000 products fully eligible. We take your FSA card, your HSA card, and we're there. We're here for you. We have a trained customer service team. These are healthcare is confusing. It's a lot of money at stake. People leave a lot of money.
What do you have to do when you check out to prove that you have this FSA, or is it a card still?
Yeah, we accept all cards, FSA cards, HSA cards. It goes directly out of your account, so you don't have to submit pesky receipts. It just goes right out of your tax-free account. One of the biggest things is only 1 in 5 people in America are taking advantage of these that have them. So there's 4 in 5 people that have access to this tax-free money that aren't using it.
They don't really know how to. I don't think they know. I don't think they understand it, because that was confusing for me.
For years, I didn't do it because I'm like, oh, if you put money in and you can't use it, and then you lose it, it just seemed too complicated. And you know, when you're signing up for all your health insurance, and it's complicated enough. So how do you kind of get the word out about? Because obviously, you want to encourage people to donate or to take money out of their paychecks and put them into FSAs and HSAs. So how are you getting the word out to not only do that, but then direct traffic back to you guys? Yeah,
so we partner with a lot of the companies that administer these plans. We help them talk to the customer, because the customer is often confused. We have a whole media, entertainment, and section about articles that we actually provide information about these accounts. So if someone's confused, they can come to our learning center. We have a lot of tools that help people estimate how much to put in, if to max out their account at $2,700 or just put in a couple $100 for their eyeglasses. We help you out there. Our team is really trained to help you if you have any questions. So we're really an advocate for the customer, and we work through a lot of the administrators and employers to really kind of get them to our site.
So Black Friday's coming up. Are you going to offer any Black Friday deals?
Yeah, Black Friday is big for us. The end of year is really the big time, so we call it the surge back in the office. Everyone's prepping in Midtown New York City for that end of year rush that comes, and people start to really check their balances and see that they have some funds over, and so we really kind of want to work with them, and it's a big time.
So this month is vital for you then, this next month in a few weeks, right?
Well, it goes until you might have a grace period, so you have to check your plan. We implore everyone to check if they have the deadline in December or maybe in March. But really, December through March is a big time for us. But we're selling products that people use every day. So we sell more products during the normal day than we do during the deadline period. And so we're really here.
I have to ask, because I'm a price shopper.
Yes.
Do you offer competitive pricing?
We have some coupons that we'll we are very competitive. Yeah, we are competitively priced. We have some bundles that are unique to our site. So if you wanted to buy a sun care bundle or family essentials bundle, we wrap it all up for you. You don't have to decide, am I buying this, and this? It's all done for you. One-click checkout, put your card in, very simple.
You make it so convenient for consumers. Tell us the websites again, Jeremy.
So it's FSAStore.com and HSAStore.com.
All right, check it out. Jeremy Miller, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
We're wrapping up the show with a segment brought to you by Engineered Tax Services, where engineering and accounting come together. Joining us on Skype is John Loudon, the Vice President of ETS. Hi, John.
Hey, how are you?
Hi there, John. So it was reported that the United Kingdom may impose a new digital services tax if certain countries don't start taxing multinational national companies like tech giants like Amazon, Apple, and Google. And according to The Hill, Spain has already passed its tech tax. And the EU finance ministers are on the verge of finalizing a deal to propose a tech tax beginning in 2020. John, what are your thoughts on the UK's possible new digital services tax?
Well, as it happens, I'm reading a book about about how we tax. And one of the main points is the United States taxed 80% of our government ran off alcohol and tobacco taxes before we brought in the income tax. So this article rings true with me, because while the book I'm reading has to do with taxing payments, because we have so many financial transactions, instead of income we tax payments. Here we have Europeans saying this tech company, this tech movement that we're in, maybe if we could tax that more, we could tax income less, perhaps. So that's why this rings is fascinating to me. I sure don't like the idea if it's protectionist and it's attacking the U.S. specifically, that would bother me. But if they're looking for creative ways to raise revenue in lieu of something like income taxes that are more regressive, then why not?
Do you think that this could cut into corporate profits? Because obviously in the business world, we talk a lot about tariffs, right? And tariffs on American imports from China and Chinese imports and American imports. So could this just be something else that companies have to worry about cutting into their bottom line?
Well, certainly you have to understand that every tax is ultimately paid by a consumer. This idea that we can just tax corporations and not tax income is just silly. We pay for those taxes and the products and services that these companies provide.
So even more importantly then, I guess, does the cost get passed on to us? Do we want this tax? Because does this mean we pay more for our iPhones?
Well, it might mean Europeans pay more for their iPhones. This is understand in the republics, and we're talking. All these countries are republics. They can tax. They can come up with whatever tax regime they want, and if people don't like them, they can throw them out. But I actually, again, if I had not been reading this book, the organization is a foundation for a better economy, and it's asking us to open our eyes to other ways to tax beyond sales tax, income tax, property tax. And EU is saying, hey, maybe we tax tech. This group is saying, maybe we tax financial transactions. So it's an interesting. I see this as a creative tax scheme. Nobody likes taxes, but again, at the end of the day, all these things just end up being paid by consumers. But maybe we ought to be taxing in a smarter way.
John, do you think that smaller tech companies should also be held accountable?
Well, I appreciate that question.
Thank you.
Typically in government, and it is, I held office a number of years. Usually you see the big corporations manipulating the politicians and carving out advantages for themselves. They call that mercantilism. And in this case, it's kind of a reverse. It appears to be that they're saying, let's tax the giant companies more and the smaller companies less. It's a progressive taxation by any measure. And if it encourages smaller startup companies where usually corporations are manipulating politicians to give them special advantages. And I'll give you one example. You'll see a lot of large corporations endorse more regulation. And they like more regulation because they have the lawyers and accountants to work around the regulations, but that becomes a real burden, a hidden burden on the smaller startups. So if you're taxing the big guys and giving breaks to the small guys, not sure that's a bad thing.
So who do you think that this is targeting? Is this targeting the so-called FANG companies, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Apples of the world?
Well, it may be, and certainly there are people that will take that view that, wow, these are American companies and let's go get them. And you hate to have that be the motive. But if they want to tax the big guys, I think the big guys are going to find their ways to maneuver around them. And if the idea is to encourage entrepreneurship and the smaller guys around the world, and by guys I mean guys or gals, smaller companies, then I'm all about entrepreneurship and removing barriers for the smaller companies. So that doesn't necessarily bother me.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us, John Loudon. Really appreciate your insights.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, that's the end of today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to stay tuned later today for Bold Life at 2 p.m. I'll be co-hosting with Clay Williams. We'll see you later.
Have a great weekend, everyone.